Welcome to ITE 1932 Technical Writing. I'm Nisasad Silva, and today we will look at how to write a great CV. This is the color coding that we will be using for this lecture and all the subsequent lectures. Please pause here for a bit and remember this color coding. First, we need to answer the question, what is a CV, before we start to write some. So, a CV is curriculum vitae, which means the course of life in Latin. It is an in-depth document that details the person's educational and professional history. Also somewhat of their private history as well. It will be as long as it needs to be. There are no page limits. It will grow with you until you die. Things are added, but nothing is deleted. So it will grow on and on and on. It doesn't change for different positions, as in, even if you change your field of specialty, you do not need to redo your CV. It stays the same. It is a record of your life. It is not targeted or tailored towards a particular job or a particular position. So, with that point, you might be thinking, what is the difference or similarity between CVs and resumes? Now, the first thing is resume comes from French. But a resume, very importantly, is a concise document. It is short. Typically, it is one page, but there are instances where I can go to 2 pages. That is okay. Depends on where you are applying. Remember, CVs do not care where you are applying, but resumes do. The goal of a resume is to make yourself stand out from the competition. So the competition are the people who have submitted their resumes for the same job, same position. You should adapt the resume to every position you apply for. So even if you are doing a job search parallelly, if you are applying to multiple companies at the same time, it is advised to tailor your resume for each of these jobs. This is a main difference from the CV. So again, let's cover. CV is long, it covers your entire career, and it is static. Static as in, you do update it, but you do not delete things from it, or you do not change the format. But resume is short, there is no particular format rule, and it is highly customizable. In fact, it is advised to customize to the position or the opportunity that you are applying for. A good example is the actress Mayim Baig, who has a PhD, but in her acting resume, her PhD goes under other abilities. Here's a short summary of a comparison. In a CV, you can put books published, publications, awards, grants, conferences, teaching experience, research experience, academic clubs, professional clubs, and other references. In a resume, you only put work experience, educational qualifications, or skills. Additional skills that are relevant to this position, maybe projects, volunteering, leadership, and awards, again, if they are relevant to this particular job. So see the difference between you can put and you only put, because In CV, there is no page limit. In resume, most of the time, you have only one page to handle everything. Now, let's look at the purpose of a CV. A CV gives positive and factual picture of it. This does not mean that you have to put an actual picture. You can, but usually we don't. In resume, you can probably put a picture. But here we mean a word picture, a conceptual picture of you. It also gives a detailed background of yourself because it covers everything about you to this point. It records the entire life history, qualifications, experience, skills, and abilities. Okay, now let's move on to see how you can start building your CV. How should I format my CV? The usual idea is to do it reverse chronological. That means the newest thing first. But sometimes you may go with the idea with important first as well. But the problem with doing that is then you will have to redo the CV each time your worldview of what is important changes. So it is better to actually use reverse chronological because whatever you are interested in these days will always be on the top. Reverse chronological is the most common type, and here is an example of, here is a part of my CV as an example. So you are listing your experience in the chronological order with the most recent on top. As you can see, I have put the PhD on the top, MSc next, and the BSc next. And then look at the research and professional experience. You can see the most recent ones are on the top. It will highlight any gaps in your progress. So if there are any gaps, any positional gap between what you are doing, it will be highlighted. People can see it, so you need to explain it. Now, the very top, you may have personal details and contact details. Here is again a example from my own CV. You will have the name, you will have the address, the telephone number, and the email. And when you are putting the email, be professional, put a professional email address as we discussed the last lecture. Now we move on to education and qualifications. You can put your degree and university and the cumulative GPA if you think it is good. But the degree and the university should be there if you have the degree. You can put A-level, O-level results. You can mention the grades unless they are poor. So in certain careers, A-level, O-level starts to become irrelevant when you move on with your career. In that case, you may move it below, not at the very top. But if it is one of the 3 or 4 last achievements that you have, it's better to keep it. So a person who has a bachelor's degree or does not have a bachelor's degree yet would definitely keep their A-level, O-level results at the top. And you can put the results, the grades. And if you have any professional qualifications like SIMA or a charter, any other charter, you can put it here. You do need to mention the title of each school, university, or other institution, and the years. If you want, you can also mention some of the key subjects and modules that you did, especially if it has a specialization. If you have a degree in, let's say, masters in artificial intelligence, you should put it as masters in artificial intelligence instead of just putting masters, because it helps. Here is an example of this is the same block that I showed you earlier from my CV. As you can see, I am giving importance to PhD, MSc, and BSc, and I have moved my A-level results to page 7. And if you want to see my O-level, you will look at LinkedIn. So it is your decision as to what is the importance that you give each of your results, each of your educational achievements. Okay, let's move on to work experience. Remember, we are doing reverse chronological, so we start with the most recent. Then you include paid work, internships, or voluntary work. If it is important, you can state the months, but the years, definitely you should put. Under each, you can highlight the key skills and responsibilities and duties that you have. For example, you can say analytical problem solving skills, worked in a team, negotiations. Here is an example of what I have on my CV about research and professional experience. And here are some more under research groups, research interests. Furthermore, on teaching experience, I'm going to stop here because there are many other pages and I do not want to waste your time showing you just my CV. It's not like you are going to give me a job, are you? Okay. Now we are looking at other sections. You can move on to projects. What a project is for you depends on the field in which you are working. So you can put the project title and the context, and you can give a brief description with 2 or 3 lines if you like. You can mention the technologies that were used. For example, this is something that we give the CSC undergraduates, the TAN course. You can say it is part of the Programming Challenge 2 module. It's an intelligent game client that is played against other bots through a game server. So they were using C# and XMA some time ago. Now, for me, the projects are student projects that I supervise. So I have put them here with the title and who are the other people that were part of those. So mentioning the other people is important to me because I supervise them and it is part of my job. For you, it is more important to mention what are the things that you did in the project. And also, for me, datasets that were created under each of these projects is an important point, so I have included them. Another section, as we mentioned earlier, is publications. For me, it is a very big deal. Now, if you do not have many publications, maybe you can put them under work experience or projects. But since it is the main component of my job, I have many publications to list. So as you can see, I start on page 2. It goes to page 4. But as I mentioned earlier, if you do not have many publications, you can put them under work experience or projects instead of having a separate title. Now we move on to technical skills. If you have abilities in programming languages or version control systems, frameworks, you can put them in your CV. It is an example from my LinkedIn CV. And if you have other skills, for example, languages, you can also mention that. Now, we are almost at the end of the CV. It's time to mention interests and achievements. Keep this section short and to the point. Don't write paragraphs. For every section, you may write several sentences, but not too much. It is not an essay about you. It's just a CV. Competitions that you won, for example, like team, where you captain of the team. If you are, it will show your leadership skills. Did you excel in sports, aesthetics? Are you good in music, art? Anything showing evidence of employability. You might think, oh, I am a computer science person. My art skills are not relevant. No. In the CV, you can put them. It shows various other aspects of your character that might be important for this job. Because remember, CVs are about your life, unlike resumes which are tailored specifically to a certain job. Here is an example from my CV. These are various things that I did. Toastmasters and so forth. Information technology study at school, and being a prefect, that kind of thing. Also, there are the skills. These might be very irrelevant to what I am, a computer science lecturer or a computer science researcher, but that doesn't matter. These are the interests that you have. So, you mention them. You can also mention professional affiliations if you have any. If you have chartered, if you are a student member or a professional member of a professional body, IEEE, IESL, and you can state the duration. Here is an example from my CV. Now let's look at some topics. The CV has to be clear and well organized. Logical. It should have a logical flow. It should be concise, relevant and necessary. Even though there is no page limit, don't write an essay. It should be complete. It should include everything that you need. It should be consistent. Do not mix styles and fonts. Keep it professional. Don't use Comic Sans. And it should be current. One good thing that I have learned from my undergraduate days is that if your CV does not get a new line every month, your career is stagnating. So the point is that you should have achieved something every month that is worthy of adding to your CV. Otherwise, your career is going nowhere. It's a very good policy that I try to live by. Now, sign off. Let's look at this quote. You are not your resume, you are your work, by example. It's relevant to CV as well, because at the end of the day, in a professional setting, what matters most is what you do. I will see you with the next lecture soon.